Well guys, the future of VR is finally here. Well, almost. Aww. So, if you don't know what Beyond Sandbox is, it's an upcoming multiplayer VR game that promises next-generation physics, from smacking people in the head with chairs, to breaking your friend's arm, down to detailed finger physics.
If we really want to be pushing boundaries and making games as immersive as possible, we need believable interactions, down to the smallest details.
Oh yeah, and we can't forget
Jiggle physics. I tried to talk our developers out of this one, but they insisted on giving you this in time for Valentine's Day.
This upcoming game aims to be Bone Lab on steroids, especially with the built-in multiplayer features, so you won't have to download any additional mods like Bone Lab Fusion in order to join your friends in some multiplayer chaos. And on top of that, this game aims to streamline downloading mods, building mods, anything involving mods, which Bone Lab did kind of a piss-poor job of, if we're being completely honest. In order to download mods, you always had to use outside sources, and you can never just download them directly in-game. Now, I'm not gonna just sit here and glaze Beyond Sandbox the entire time, because trust me, they do enough glazing themselves.
Physics-based melee, interactable weapons, freaky fingers, and physics-based player models, all in a multiplayer modding platform.
Honestly, I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to this game lately, because I don't usually cover games that aren't out yet, until I saw a little video by a fellow VR YouTuber, Wigwam VR. I'm just gonna talk about some of the points he put out there, what to actually expect from Beyond Sandbox, because it is not gonna be some super crazy next generation experience. I'm not saying the game is not impressive, but we should lower our expectations just a little bit. Now firstly, I want to address something a Wigwam was questioning in his video. He said something feels off about Beyond Sandbox.
It just doesn't sit right with me that a studio could randomly show up, not even more than a year ago, and already have technologies advancing any other studio which has been working on this stuff for decades.
Now of course he did go into more detail, but that sentence pretty much summed up the first part of his video. A lot of these other developers who have been working on it for decades either have been developing it in their own game engine, so they have to develop the game engine along with the game, like Blade and Sorcery for example, or they've been developing it through Unity, which is kind of the baseline standard when it comes to developing VR games, because it's easy to mod and there's all kinds of stuff you can do in Unity. Even Bone Lab uses Unity. Now I could be completely wrong here, so please let me know in the comments if I get this wrong, but I don't believe there are any sandbox games, VR games, that have been made in Unreal Engine 5, especially one that has multiplayer built into the game. Also, YouTube is a huge resource for VR developers and indie game developers alike. Not only can you find unlimited tutorials on how to do stuff in Unreal Engine, but you can also find videos with asset packs and all kinds of stuff linked in the description of those videos. But honestly, I'm not seeing any technology that's super advanced past what we've seen in other VR games. Everything they show just seems to be a slight step above what we have in current games. Like, we already have physics-based recoil in Bone Lab and other VR shooter games. As far as the finger physics go, it's not really a huge leap in VR technology. I feel like anybody could have done it, and nobody did because they didn't think it was important. I do feel like it's a necessary progression when it comes to VR games, and I'm glad we're finally reaching this point where our fingers actually physically interact with items and objects in the game. It makes it so much more immersive, especially since we're going to be having haptic feedback on our controllers whenever our fingers are touching stuff. And of course, there's the asset store for Unreal Engine, which we're going to get into that because there are a lot of used assets. A quick little search on YouTube instantly pulls up the finger physics that Beyond Sandbox has been yapping about. And I'm pretty sure that the hands that are shown in this video are the default Unreal Engine VR hands, which you can actually see in a few of Beyond Sandbox's promotional shorts, where they're messing with the zombies. And the fact that there's almost no original assets in the videos or shorts at all honestly makes the game feel more possible. Like there's really just an overly ambitious small studio of a few creators behind it trying to develop these systems. And often that's what we see take place with studios developing games. They develop their physics systems and the rules in which the game is actually going to function way before they create their own assets. And honestly, there may not be a whole lot of custom assets when this game comes out. I mean, think about it. Why would the developers spend too much time creating their own assets when they're developing this framework in which people are going to be able to play this multiplayer game? They're going to be able to easily bring in mods, supposedly, and they can mod anything they want into the game. They can create their own assets, and all those mods are going to be brought into the game. End up making their own guns and some of their own skins and stuff, but that is not their priority right now. They are building their framework first. And then what we're going to be seeing is something very similar to Roblox, but VR and realistic, of course. And a majority of the content, if not all of it, will be user generated.
On their first shot, they make a comparison to Bone Lab and shows that Bone Lab's avatars have no finger physics, yet theirs do, which is of course a big achievement. But are we just going to ignore games like Half-Life Alyx and Blade and Sorcery, and many others? Seems as if when they make comparisons to other games, they will purposely pick one of the worst offenders of an issue they're trying to show they did better. Yes, Bone Lab doesn't have finger physics, but games like Blade and Sorcery and Half-Life Alyx do have physical fingers, and of course here they picked on Bone Lab as the example.
Now there's actually a few reasons why Beyond Sandbox is ignoring Blade and Sorcery and Half-Life Alyx when making these comparisons. Number one is marketing. Obviously they want to make their game look better, and if they compare finger physics to that in another game that has finger physics, it's not gonna hit as well as it would when comparing it to Bone Lab. Another reason is Beyond Sandbox is not trying to compete with Blade and Sorcery or Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx is a story-driven game. It's not really an open sandbox, even though there are a lot of mods for it, and the same thing for Blade and Sorcery. Yes, you can mod Blade and Sorcery, but at its source, it's a medieval fighting and sorcery game. I would say if there was one VR game that Beyond Sandbox is in direct competition with, it would be Bone Lab. And let's not forget to mention the fact that it was their very first short that they compared their game to Bone Lab with. They have not done it since, and they've only been focusing on their own game, not comparing it to other games, which makes it look like they're trying to actually be professional instead of just comparing their games to a bunch of other ones. But Bone Lab has thousands of mods, and the dozens of mods that are still coming out every day for Bone Lab. These other games just don't compete, and that's what Beyond Sandbox is looking to do, bridge that gap and turn it into a multiplayer game, because like I said before, Bone Lab does not have native multiplayer. It's a healthy thing for us all to take a critical look at Beyond Sandbox, but in this case I think everything checks out when it comes to their marketing plans and whatnot. I mean, look, they got themselves to be
The most wishlisted VR game on Steam?
so I think they know what they're doing.
Recoil that deals melee damage, fully physics-based handguns. Our recoil is fully physics-based.
This is once again something a lot of other VR games have already done, from Bone Lab to Contractors. And while this is great, this is not next gen, and it is not the future. In fact, it's the present of VR.
Now, Wigwam is 100% correct on this. We already have physics-based recoil in Bone Lab and other VR shooters. I even tested it out myself and went into Bone Lab to see if the gun recoil could actually damage enemies, and I'll let the video speak for itself. Okay, so we have our shotgun loaded. We're gonna see if we can damage Ford with the recoil from the shotgun. Oh, I'll try another shotgun real quick. Alright, let's give this a try. Oh, that one actually damaged him. Okay, now we're gonna try it from the front. And as you see, it actually killed him. Now this is a modded weapon, it's not in the base game. But that just goes to show you Beyond Sandbox didn't invent anything.
Ooh, your ragdoll's stuck and the shotgun doesn't kick enough. How's that? The physics-based pumping is still there, so you can do it one-handed, pause, and the kickback can do this cool thing we've codenamed internally as blunt force trauma.
Oh, and since I just showed you that little clip, I'd like to mention the fact that they mentioned their ragdolls, but they didn't even show the ragdolls. They shot the guy, and then he fell off screen. If you're gonna mention ragdolls and people saying they suck, maybe you should actually showcase your ragdoll system. We haven't even seen that yet, so... Hey guys, Future Roadkill here. I'm just editing the video and Beyond Sandbox just dropped this golden nugget of a video. The short is titled NPCs Aren't Done But They're Cooking. So yeah, their NPCs are definitely not done. I would say this is the first fully developed looking one, and it looks really good. Now I'm a little more hopeful that we will get some amazing NPC ragdoll and whatever kind of physics, so this is really exciting. Alright, now we're gonna go back to Wigwam's video because he says another thing that I'd like to talk about.
This GTA 6 feature is going in our VR game. One of our biggest requests is for Euphoria ragdoll physics, but Euphoria is usually only licensed to big AAA game studios, so we built our own version from scratch, starting with reactive, self-balancing NPCs optimized for virtual reality.
Okay, cool, but why aren't you showcasing that within virtual reality? When he shot the NPC, the dude just fell over stiff as hell, and then they show this scene where it looks like a clip from Hyperbox where they have the self-balancing Euphoria-like ragdolls tripping over a box, but it's not in VR. It's a developer video that they could have taken anywhere. It's not even showing their own NPCs or any virtual reality gameplay. That's a bit concerning. Hey, Future Roadkill here again. Just wanted to say, I know this new video got released showcasing their new ragdoll physics, and it's really cool how the NPCs actually fall over each other and interact with each other, and the NPC under the other one can't even get up. It's pretty funny, and it makes me really excited for this game.
Beyond Sandbox does look great, but is it the whole future of VR? I don't think so. And that's the terrifying thing, because Bone Lab had a lot of negativity surrounding it during its release due to this whole high expectation.
Okay, so the situation between Beyond Sandbox and Bone Lab are very different. The reason Bone Lab was such a disappointment for so many people, including myself, isn't just because of the hype that surrounded it, but the developers themselves, Stress Level Zero, said that they would be supporting the game right alongside with the community, developing it over the course of 2 years. We went a year and a half of complete silence before they finally dropped some updates. Now, some people might argue and say, oh, but they updated us on Twitter and stuff. No, they didn't give us any game updates like they promised. They didn't give us any SDK updates. I had no idea what was going on, and I thought they gave up completely on the game. But I remember either Brandon or one of the other Stress Level Zero developers had the balls to say, you shouldn't buy the game based on promises, you should buy the game based on what it gives you at launch, or some stupid shit like that, and that really pissed off the community, because that's like buying GTA 6 and then expecting an amazing online game mode, and then they shut down the online servers for GTA 6 after 5 months. They're like, oh, we made $3 billion, we're shutting it down. Now, I would get it if it was like a Concord situation on PlayStation, but no, Bone Lab sold gangbusters when it came out, and so we didn't get our first update for a year to a year and a half, and it really hurt the game. And then all of a sudden they fired off like 5 updates at once, and each update broke all the mods from the previous update. So there are hundreds or thousands of mods that we can't even use now because they broke the game. So Bone Lab honestly deserved the criticism that it got. However, Beyond Sandbox isn't even out yet. We don't know what the developers are planning to do. They could do what Bone Lab failed to do and actually be there developing their game right alongside with the community. Or they may not even have to. They may release a few bug fixes and be like, alright, our game is good. But it's really hard to say with a game that's not out yet.
And while we have been actually shown a lot of examples of the good multiplayer sync, the dismemberment, we haven't seen anything of the zombies mode. And of course the game is in development, maybe the game mode isn't ready to show yet, but I think it's weird that this whole massive game mode is promised, and yet we haven't seen anything apart from just the models of the zombie NPCs. It just rubs me the wrong way how things have been said many times to really get it in your head, like, hey, we're definitely doing this.
Co-op zombie wave shooter?
It's worrying that we haven't seen any of that.
I also think it's very weird that we have not seen anything of these game modes. I mean, how do you talk about extraction shooters slash zombie game modes without actually showing the herds of zombies walking towards you or anything? And like I said earlier, we have seen so many pre-made Unity assets. I'm not sure if the NPCs are from the asset store or if those were made by the developers. I'm not really too keen on Unreal Engine, so maybe somebody can let me know down in the comments if they've seen that on the asset store. But like Wigwam said, we haven't really seen the game. No, scratch that, we haven't seen the game at all. We've seen a couple of features, some of which already exist in Bone Lab and other games like Half-Life Alyx, but to me it feels like the very, very early development stages of a game. And it is a little bit scary that they might be trying to pull off some kind of scam or something. I'm not saying they are scamming, and I would argue that having Merp TV in one of their videos actually gives evidence that this is a real game that's actually being developed. Because Merp TV has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He wouldn't just put his name behind something that's fake, and you can see him moving around in the game, so of course they have to be developing something. However, there have been a lot of scam games that never actually came out. Think about Paradise or Raw or any of those other games that just promise way more than they could actually ever deliver. However, I don't think the things that Beyond Sandbox are promising are outside the realm of possibility.
The NPCs are always standing still. Now, of course, this could be for the sake of the videos and testing purposes, but I think it's weird that we have been promised these amazing NPCs and yet we haven't seen them move at all.
I'm hoping that the only reason that the NPCs are so still in all of these shorts is because it's easier to show off the features they want to on NPCs that stand still, and when you're doing it in a short, you only have a little bit of time to really get the point across that you're trying to get. However, I would like to see some more long-form videos where they actually show off the AI and movement of the NPCs, because at this point it's getting really concerning that the NPCs are going to be just as bad as Bone Lab, if not worse. I'm sorry, but the NPCs in Bone Lab are not that good. They are not smart, and they only move if they're in combat mode against the player.
They actually did recently show off the supposed stumbling of one of the NPCs in the game, and they referred to this as a GTA 6 feature, very clearly to cater towards a younger audience and just kind of get their attention because GTA 6 is kind of bumping right now, you know?
And that just kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about them showing off something that isn't even in VR. And we have no way to verify the legitimacy of what they're showing here. Also, I kind of find it funny that apparently comparing a game to GTA 6 markets towards a younger audience, because Grand Theft Auto isn't made for a younger audience. In fact, it's 17 and older, but we all know there are millions of kids out there playing it. I mean, I got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas when I was only 6 years old because I played it when I was 5 years old at my cousin's house, and I kept begging my mommy for it and promised I wouldn't go into the strip club. And I've been playing the game series ever since. That may be why I act like a psychopath in my videos, who knows?
Is this game going to become a laggy mess when there's a bunch of people causing all sorts of chaos across the map? Once again, that's something we've got to find out in the future. Maybe I'm too early in the development of this game to be bashing a lot of these things, but I just think it's really interesting the way Beyond Sandbox promotes their game and who they promote it to.
I mean, Beyond Sandbox did say they plan to release their game during mid-2025. No, it's not happening. This game needs a lot more time to cook. This game is more of an Unreal Engine VR tech demo than anything else. With that being said, I hope the developers really do take this game seriously and they give it the time it needs to cook, because it is an exciting premise and I am actually excited for this to come out, but it needs a lot more time in the oven.
Let's get this straight, Beyond Sandbox knows exactly what they're doing. When you think about an owner of a MetaQuest headset, what comes into your mind? Kids. So many kids have these things today, and if you want to make a good profit off a game, then all you've got to do is draw in the kids. Beyond Sandbox is exceptional at doing this with their shorts. Short form snappy content with funny Gen Z jokes.
Toe physics was not the first freaky thing we've been asked for. Can there be zombies with massive honkers?
Yeah, I can definitely see the shorts being marketed towards children, and Wigwam has a really good point about children being the target audience for MetaQuests, and that's why these developers talk so much about having their game on Quest. That's what any game developer does when they're trying to reach the broadest audience possible. They say, hey, our upcoming Quest game, blah 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 blah. They don't say PC VR, they always specify Quest because they want to reach the broadest audience possible.
Repeatedly showing Russian roulette in many shorts to get the attention of the kids.
I don't think the target demographic for Russian roulette is children. I mean, they had it in the recent Squid Game season, and I don't think that show is targeted towards children.
But it just baffles me, the creators of Bone Lab. They've been working on physics in VR for like over a decade at this point, and I really don't understand how Beyond Sandbox can just show up and already have apparently done it better than them. There's all these amazing talented studios which have made these phenomenal VR games, and now Beyond Sandbox is apparently leagues above all of them.
Again, I'm just gonna say YouTube tutorials and assets. The things that they're showing off are fundamentally simple, and they just hype it up like it's some groundbreaking feature that's never been done before, which they haven't. They have not been done before in VR games. But they're not exactly super difficult to implement if you know what you're doing and you're following tutorials or teaching yourself how to do something. It's not something that would take a decade of VR coding to figure out. And look, all these VR developers have to start off somewhere. At this point, if they made a subpar VR game, like something we would get back in 2018 or 2020, nobody would want to play it. So of course they're gonna do the ambitious thing and try to make next generation level physics, because it's 2025 now. They have to make a 2025 level game. GTA 6 is just around the corner. They need a VR game that can somewhat compete with that behemoth, or else they aren't going to stand out in any way, shape, or form. And like I said before, they're not doing anything super groundbreaking, but they are just taking VR games to the next level. We don't need more copy and paste MetaQuest games where your hands just go through the walls. Honestly, I don't think anybody wants that. And so if they want their game to sell, and if they want people to enjoy their game for a long time like people have with Bone Lab or Blade and Sorcery being the golden goose of VR games, then they're gonna have to make a game that can stand the test of time. So my final opinion of Beyond Sandbox is that it could potentially be a very good game. The developers just need to give it enough time to cook, deliver on their promise of their modding support and their multiplayer support, and we very well could have the next Bone Lab. I do not think this game is next gen or the future of VR. I think they've found some things that Bone Lab, Half-Life Alyx, and other games don't have. They figured out what features they need, and they figured out ways to implement them using Unreal Engine. I don't think this game is outside the realm of possibility. I just hope the developers don't abuse all of the attention that they've gotten from social media, and that they really do care about the game that they're creating here. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a long one, and it's definitely different from what I usually do, but I felt like this needed to be talked about in case some people came off of Wigwam's VR thinking that this game is going to be a scam or something and is impossible. There's no way that these developers could come out of nowhere and just create this masterpiece of a game. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, or you can join my Discord server and we can have a discussion about Beyond Sandbox. You can tell me your opinion. I will be linking Wigwam's YouTube channel in the description below, and with that, I'll see you all in the next one. And remember, stay hydrated.